Now, there are three main shoot growth types that we can categorize, at least in temperate trees: determinate, indeterminate, and recurrently flushing. We're going to talk about recurrently flushing shoot growth pattern in this video. So if you recall, with recurrently flushing shoot growth, we start with the overwintered bud, which has some number of primordia in it, little embryonic leaves. And that bud in the spring expands, and those primordia expand and grow to their full size. And then a resting bud is set. So those primordia expand and it sets a resting bud. And then some period of time later, not very long, that bud expands, produces a new cycle of shoot expansion and growth, and another resting bud is set. That resting bud can potentially overwinter, or this process may repeat one or more times. So in other words, we can get this cycle of formation of a resting bud, the expansion of that resting bud, and setting of another bud several times during 1 year.
If you remember from class, southern pines are one of the species that has a recurrent growth pattern. This is a branch from a loblolly pine tree. And of course, loblolly pine and all pines are evergreen. That means they keep their needles for more than 1 year. So at any point in time, you have needles on the tree that may be up to 18 months old. So we can see on this branch, there are needles. This is 2021, January of 2021. There were needles, these sort of newer green needles that were formed starting in spring of 2020. And then there's a few needles left further down on the branch here and here. You can see they're pretty beat up and have almost all fallen off. Those were formed starting in spring of 2019. And of course, in this coming March, starting about March 1st, this terminal bud will burst and we'll get the production of foliage for the 2021 growing season. So again, loblolly pine is a recurrently flushing species, which means it produces multiple growth cycles in 1 year. And there's some tricks we can use to identify the different growth cycles. Each growth cycle typically starts on the stem with a zone of sterile bracts. It's a zone with no needles. So that indicates that this is the start of a new growth cycle. Typically, the first growth cycle of a year is the longest one. Not always, but very often. Okay, so when we back up, you can see here's a little region of sterile bracts, and then we have the production of needles here. So from here to here is the first growth cycle from 2020. Okay, so then we look and identify the next one. Okay, here's the next flush, this region of sterile bracts, and the sterile region for the next flush. So, okay, here's a third flush. Region of sterile bracts in the end, and here's a fourth.